Well, Lizzie here. Hi.
Hi, Lizzie.
We worked it out. My favorite was was filming the '70s episode with while Wanda's pregnant. I think it felt like it got to be equally the most like the physical for the comedy and absurd, but then we also got to start to play with the barrier quite literally a bit more. And I really enjoyed getting to play all the levels that we show in that episode, and then in the following episode when everyone's starting at sword starting to see what was really going on. And so that those were there were a lot of different versions that we had to shoot, and it was fun to navigate how much we were exposing to either vision, or how much we were exposing to the audience. It was a fun line to tread. That Matt. It was very funny to be recreating that running sequence and the picnic.
So great, which
And Lizzie, for you, I mean, because I mean, the story very much is simply about sort of Wanda's grief and how, and her sort of, this is her way of sort of working through it, I guess. How did you sort of navigate that very, at least from my perspective, it's very challenging sort of emotional territory over the course of 9 episodes?
Well, I think the goal is to not, repeat beats. You're trying to, because I think oftentimes if you're telling a story about grief or trauma, and you're in a series, some things can become repetitive. But I think the way Jack and her writers' room had structured the show, and also the nature of the mechanism and the device that we use through these sitcoms, it shied us away from ever being repetitive. And every episode, I think my favorite thing about exploring grief and trauma through this show is that every decade represented the phase that Wanda was in. So you can see her go into like extreme denial, and that's also part of the sarcasm of the Modern Family episode, or or depression, or there's just anger. Like there's so many different ways to either pretend something's not going on, or whether it's like kind of blissfully, or it's sarcastically. And so there are these tones that every I'm not explaining this as well as I wish I could right now, but there are these tones that every decade inherently, as these sitcoms were bringing to this exploration in order for it to not feel repetitive. So it was fun for me. And also, like, I don't know, as an actor, when it comes to deep sadness and grief, I mean, I mean, I think we all just like want to explore that a lot. It's just it's something that I really enjoy a good cry, So it's just about navigating really the arc, and how much is revealed at what time or another, and trying to not have repeat moments or repeat beats. I think is the biggest struggle.
Lizzie, Paul, for you guys now, with the benefit of hindsight and time, has the one that you considered to the most challenging or the most, interesting to film changed, or is it the same as it was when you were doing it?
Sorry.
You go. You go.
I was going to say that the idea of the live taping, I mean, first off, when you start a job, you're already nervous because it's a bunch of firsts that you have to get out of the way. You're acting in front of the crew for the first time. You're acting with some new people for the first time, and even though we rehearsed, it didn't. Uh, that wasn't as that wasn't like as comforting as having multiple takes at your disposal. And so I was terrified to do the '50s episode. And then I kept thinking, oh well, if it's terrible, we're just gonna go back and reshoot as much as possible. But we didn't really do that. We only had to do a couple technical things after the live taping, and then that was just the episode. so that was pretty terrifying. But I do have to say that just filming the Marvel-y sequences where we're back in the MCU world and we're fighting, those will continue to be so challenging because it's you're working with not much, and the stakes are so high, and I can't really do much magical power things of my own. So it was really fun to have the sitcom practical gags that we could interact with, and it does always become challenging to then go into the MCU where it's all imagination, and the stakes are high, and so it is, both worlds are challenging for different reasons. Yeah, we talked a lot about them being allies in any other situation, that these two women were there is a connection between the two of them that you see from the moment they meet in the 60s episode, and you follow it till the end of the at the end of the show. And that was just always important to remember. I mean, also even in the pregnancy, that she actually trusts her enough to deliver her children. So as much as she's afraid of the other inside the bubble, these women inherently feel connected, um, and like like allies to one another. But yes, we did do a lot of. I honestly, Jack, I just can't remember anything after we done that.
I just wanted to say one thing, just as about.
Well, similar to Randall, I felt like I got to play with more sides of Wanda through this, especially her playful, loving side, and and I don't and I don't discredit the other arcs because I didn't have, like, really, that wasn't relevant in the story that we were telling in the other films. You really, you know when you're in an Avengers film, as I mean, as honestly opposed to one of the other franchises like a Doctor Strange or an Ant-Man, there's just so many, many, many characters, and so you really are aware of your economy of space. And so I was just really grateful that we could show Wanda being like loving and nurturing and playful, and um, I mean, similar to what Matt said as well, that it's a show about grief, but it's about love, and I was really grateful that we got to show that side of her.
I think, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing this, but at Yonsei Aurora, for Lizzie, did you have any part in I think she means designing or inputting ideas with the new Scarlet Witch suit, and what was your reaction to seeing it for the first time?
The new suit, I think, I don't think I had too much input. I think at some point there was like a really mini cape, and now there's a long cape. But I don't know. We there That's kind of above my pay grade. But obviously we're all Matt's a part of this conversation, and then the next director who inherits this costume is part of that conversation. But it's really the costume designer's collaboration with the company that builds these costumes for Marvel.
And the second part of that question, though, was also what was your reaction when you saw the new suit for the first time?
Well, I think I loved it. I think I felt I was worried about ever wearing the headband first off, because that was one of Joss Whedon's things that he told me I was going to have to do, and it ended up. I'm like now really in love with this headband because it actually has meaning as opposed to it just being a costume piece. Jack gave it meaning,
Yeah.
and we reinvented this mythic story behind what it meant to be the Scarlet Witch, and so now I get to carry that with me into the next film, and I'm really happy that we like solidified what that what that actually means in this universe.
Last fan question. This is from Agatha's Control. Is that actually Catherine Hahn? Who can say? But the question is, where would you like to see the story of the Scarlet Witch go in potential future projects? Lizzie, I know that we've got Doctor Strange coming up as well, but if there's anything that you guys personally would be intrigued about or where you want the story to go.
That is honestly so hard for me to answer after doing a whole other movie. What I do appreciate with Wanda in the comics throughout all the decades is never being able to define her and her role. She's not necessarily a hero or an antagonist. She's an anti-hero, and so the opportunities with her are there's it's vast. There's a lot to there's a lot of ways to use her, and I feel like ways that we can continue to keep the audience on their toes. And so I just hope that we get to continue to do that. I feel like WandaVision was really a special opportunity to round her out and make her kind of like a maybe a, just like some just this question mark for everyone of what does she do with this new information as she starts to gain more confidence and autonomy from what is the Avengers. And so it's exciting, and I feel like there's lots of opportunity of where she can go.